That's what he was telling her. You know, don't think just because everything around you looks in order that you're going to escape what's going on in the world.
That's right.
He says to her, if you don't yield yourself to God, then deliverance will arise from another place. But you and your father's house, you'll be destroyed. So it behooves us, women of God, those of you who don't have trouble, consider those that are around you. Consider your neighbors. Consider those who are going through. Consider those, because remember, God has called you to save a nation. So then Esther obviously allowed this to register, and she said, I'm going to go. Now I need you to fast, I need you to pray, and if I perish, I just perish. And what we see right there is, we see Esther's courage. Which means courage is when you have an attitude of strength and determination in the face of adversity. That's what courage is. You see the road ahead, and you know it's going to be a hard road. You really don't know what's going to happen when you step out. But she says, if I perish, I perish. Trying to sound a little bit like, for God I live, and for God I die. She was so sold out. She said, if I perish, I perish. So women, we have to be sold out to fulfilling the plans and the purposes of God. Sister Kelly, you got to be committed to going to that show. Even when you're tired. That's what you... Look, we're going to make it plain for us. And I know, First Lady, you get tired sometimes. But it's because you have that, if I perish, I perish. Lord, I'm going to do this. God, I will not let your name go down. Whatever it takes, I'm going to press. And I'm going to get it done. She said, so we see her courage that's displayed. And we see that she's willing to stand up for what's right. So we must be courageous, and we must be willing to stand up for what is right. Women. Everywhere you go, no compromise. We must be willing to stand up and then speak up for what is right. So we see she's courageous, and she's going to stand up, and she's going to speak up for what is right. And then this is very key right here. She called for them to exercise some godly principles.
My Lord.
Prayer and fasting.
My Lord.
Prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting. That right there, that's some power twins in the spirit realm. In fact, God says this, since we're talking about being called to save a nation. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, fast, afflict your soul, and pray, and seek my face. But it really doesn't stop there. Then he says this, and turn from your wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal the land. Then, God said. But you have to, number one, be called by his name. You need to be saved. You have to be saved. Otherwise, you're not his people. You're his creation.
That's right.
If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, get off of your high horse. It's not about you. There's a song that says it's not about us, but it's about Jesus. It's not about us. So we have to humble ourselves.
That's right.
And pray. Seek his face. That means studying the word. Pastor tells us that all the time. Studying the word. Seek his face and then turn. You have to make some changes. If we're really going to save a nation, it has to start here. This has to get in order. This is where the order starts here, and then it can spread abroad. When I'm in order, then now I can tell my sister how to keep her dress down without not let mine go up. Then I can tell the brothers, tighten it up around there. When I've learned how to carry myself, mother. But that's one of the problems. We can't help anybody because we need too much help ourselves. And it's okay if that's where you are, but just don't stay there. Just don't stay there. Seek his face and then turn from your wicked ways. And then God says, then I'm going to hear and I'm going to heal. I'm going to heal. So we see that Esther exercises the principles of fasting and prayer. When it's a principle, that means it will work no matter who it is. It's a formula that can be followed generations, beyond generations, throughout all eternity.
Yeah.
When God has set certain principles, it can be worked over and over again. That means if it worked for Esther, it'll work for you.
Yeah.
It'll work for me.
Yeah.
That's what a principle is. It will continually work and reproduce the same kind of victory. If we would access it. She was an intercessor.
Yeah.
I love when you talked about that. We have to stand in the gap. She was an intercessor. Why? Because she went to the king on behalf of the people. So women, we have to pray and learn how to go to the King of Kings on the behalf of God's people. On the behalf of your children. On behalf of your family. God has called you to, the work begins where you are. That means it begins in me, and then it begins in my household, and then it begins in my church, and it's all throughout the world.
Glory,
That's what God is saying. She's an intercessor. That's somebody who prays for someone. That's when you say, God bless so-and-so, God deliver so-and-so, God bring so-and-so out, God put food on the table in my brother's house. That's intercession.
Yes, Lord.
When you stand before God in the place of another. And we see Esther standing before God in the place. Now, another thing she was wise. Because we're going to see that Esther goes before the king and he grants her request to come. And then he asks, what would you have me to do? I'll give you up to half of the kingdom. He must have really loved her, y'all.
Yes, Lord.
I'll give you up to half of my kingdom. Is that what you want? What do you want? And she lets him know, I want you to come to my feast. I'm going to prepare a banquet. Wise woman. I'm going to prepare a banquet and I want you to come and I want you to bring Haman along with you. And so the king comes and he brings Haman and they're eating and he wants to know, well, what is it? She said, well, I have another feast. I want you to come back. You know, she keeps on feeding, y'all. And look, I heard her saying the way some man's heart is through his stomach. That could be true, First Lady. We see that she continues to prepare meals and to get the king to come. She continues to just, and so as we're looking at the King of Kings,
that's right.
as he comes into our presence, we have to continue to feed him with praise and worship. We have to continue to magnify him and say, Lord, I love you. Lord, I thank you. Guess what? She knew how to entreat him before she asked for something. That's something for us to notice. That before we begin to ask God to do something, we got to learn how to just say, Lord, I love you. God, you're wonderful. God, you're worthy. Lord, you're all I need. God, you're my everything. Lord, you're the lover of my soul. You have to learn how to speak to him. You have to learn how to feed him with praise and worship. He doesn't need natural food. But you can just begin to build him up. And you can begin to just lift his name on high before you ask. Notice now, Esther didn't just come out and just say, hey king, look, I'm the queen and this law is out. She didn't do that. She had dignity about herself. She came in order and she had class and she knew how to entreat the king.
My Lord.
So we have to know how to entreat the King of Kings before we ask for something. Don't just get on your knees saying, God, give me, give me, give me.
My Lord.
Learn how to worship him. And then we'll see how Esther did it. And so she just continued, and I believe on the second banquet that she prepared, we'll find in chapter 7, the second banquet, she begins to let the king know why she needed to have this meeting. And you know, all throughout this, Haman was really excited because, you know, he went home, he told his wife about the first banquet and all his family. He said, oh, the queen, she wants you to come to the second banquet as well. And he's just getting all lifted up and all excited because he's just thinking, I'm real important. You know, the king is eating and I'm eating with him and his wife. He's just real lifted up thinking, you know, I must have it going on. But God was working something out all along. And so what we see, I'm going to backtrack just for one quick second before we go into the 7th chapter, is the king in the 6th chapter, he couldn't sleep one night. Now remember what we read about Mordecai going to reveal the plot. He couldn't sleep one night, so he began to read in the book of the Chronicles. God knows how to make things work out. And so he read how Mordecai had come and exposed the plot of the men who were plotting to kill him. And then he said, well, what good was done for this man? And they weren't able to find anything that had been done to repay him for going to save the king's life. And he says, okay, well, we